Great. Phenomenal.
All right, here we go.
Phenomenal.
This is the first time this has ever happened.
Love a good recording.
Just so you know.
Hey, I'm Danielle, a techie serial entrepreneur.
I'm Cicely, a health tech nurse.
I'm Priscilla, and I'm an award-winning creative.
Welcome to the More Than Graphics podcast, a virtual safe space for women and minorities in the tech and creative industry. Together, we're that tribe.
All right, for real, this is round 2. All right, welcome to the More Than Graphics podcast, a virtual safe space for women and minorities in the tech and creative industries. I'm Danielle, your techie retro pixel sorceress and fractional CMO who's always pushing marketing and creative tech for minority brands and entrepreneurs.
I'm Cicely, an RN who works in tech and loves utilizing innovation, telehealth, and cultural awareness to better serve maternity and reproductive health patients.
I am super excited for this topic. It's all about Prism, and we're also celebrating Black History Month, right? And so while many look back at the past, at MTG, we're looking at the spectrum of the future. A prism takes a single beam of light and reveals every hidden door or color, within it. And it's about clarity, depth, and seeing what everyone else is missing. Our next guest doesn't do hot takes. He does deep truths. He's a gaming and tech content creator who dissects the business, the culture, and the long-term impact of the digital worlds we inhabit. Let's dive in and introduce our guest.
Absolutely. Saiya.Ran is a gaming and tech content creator known for thoughtful commentary that goes deeper than the usual hot takes. His work focuses on the business of gaming, long-term industry trends, and the cultural impact games have beyond just sales numbers and review scores. Instead of chasing outrage, he breaks down why things happen, who they affect, and what they mean for players long-term. Welcome.
Hello, hello, hello.
I have been following your 28 Days of Black Gaming series, and I was really intrigued by, one, the level of depth information, how awesome our people are. Let me just say that out loud. And then also this incredible depth that you give in each of your videos. And I've been following you on YouTube as well before this, and I thought it was just such perfect timing to reach out to you now to see how we can continue to advocate and showcase Black excellence on this level. So I kind of want to start with that first question, since it's entitled Prism. How do you define Prism?
So we look at Prism as shining a light and exposing different things and different aspects, different facets. I think specifically in gaming actually touches a lot of pop culture. There are a lot of references in gaming. It's everywhere. And once you're in gaming, you can kind of recognize it. But there are things that I may react to or respond to differently as a Black man in gaming versus someone else. And so Prism does a great job of creating that lens of understanding and showing everyone or helping everyone see the difference in how someone may react to something or respond to something versus how someone may not and just think that's a nothing burger.
I love that. And I also love the fact, too, that as you are sharing this context, and I think there was maybe a story onto that as well. But as you're sharing this context, I just think it's so cool that this could be culturally observed in so many different ways. Now, and I'm saying observed, like not like a holiday per se, because, Black History Month, that's a holiday. But also from a lens of historical perspective, like preserving history. That's kind of the look or angle that I was also looking at this from.
But I think Danielle you were pointing in this direction and Danielle kind of brought it home. But like one of the things that I always kind of think of when, we as Black people are not represented heavily or represented well in a space is just kind of like, feeling pressure in that space to be the representative or feeling the pressure to kind of be the one who's got to share these things. I know that you shared previously that you'd worked at the Civil Rights. Was it the museum? Okay, so like that.
The Birmingham Civil Rights Institute.
Sorry, Civil Rights Institute. My bad. But very much so when you're in those spaces and you're like giving tours, it's kind of, for us, it can be a traumatic experience to have to kind of relive those things throughout the time that you're doing it. But then also kind of realizing that people come from different walks of life and they may not have even been privy to half of these things or any of these things that were going on, especially if they're not from the United States. Then that can make a big difference as well. But as a creator who prioritizes why things happen versus chasing outrage, do you ever feel the pressure of the Black tax in tech? So like having to be twice as researched, twice as good, twice as analytical just to be taken seriously or just to get that same kind of respect as other creators? And then how do you keep up with that intensity? And how do you keep it from burning you out, essentially?
That's a loaded question. No, but honestly, the way I see it is that the way I present information and the way I talk, that is for Black people. And if someone outside of Black culture appreciates that, that is a bonus, because it's really hard. I hate the quote, it's not our job to educate the oppressor, because it kind of is. But at the same time, I'm trying to educate the people who are oppressed first because they may not know. And by educating them, then it's a little bit easier to educate the oppressor. And so when I am, for instance, this 28 Days Black History in Gaming, for this series in particular, what I'm trying to do is show there is representation. There are people doing things. I've gotten more from people saying, "Oh, I didn't know that. Let me go research this further." I did a video about this directory of Black developers, and someone DM'd me and said, "Hey, I'm a Black developer. I didn't even know about this." So I just added myself to the site, and hopefully I get some more work soon. That was more important to me than being the representative to the outside world, to people outside of the culture. Because at this point, it's 2026. I don't care. Historically, we have had our own spaces that have thrived. We don't necessarily need to be a part of anyone else's space. And then oftentimes we get told to get out of those spaces. And then we say, okay, and then we do our own thing. And then, so at this point, it's like, I'm talking to Black people and I'm educating Black people. And there have been people outside of Black culture who have like DM'd me and say, "Hey, I love this series. I'm learning so much." That is nothing but a bonus. But to my sister who just got into game development and she's never heard of Muriel Thomas or whoever, like that, heard in the comments saying this is great for that. That is the point. So I never feel that pressure because I don't have to be that person. That's not my goal. That's not who I want to be either. I don't want to be the representative. I don't want to be one of the good ones. I've never wanted to be that. I just wanted to be me. And me as a Black man born in Birmingham, Alabama, like I'm very much of the culture. And so when I'm talking to people, I'm talking to people of the culture, and everything else is a bonus.
That is, ooh, chef's kiss. Like, couldn't have explained that better. And I very much love that. Like, I do not feel that most of us at this point, again, in 2026 especially, I don't feel like we're feeling that we have to be representatives. I still feel that conversation comes up. You know, I see it on TikTok every once in a while, on Facebook forums every once in a while. But I'm with you. Like, at this point, if we're working in a certain space, we're doing it for the culture. Like, you know, and like you said, anyone who wants to come in and be respectful and have a discourse and ask questions, they're welcome to come in, and that's a beautiful thing. But I'm very much with you where, you know, at this point, we're just trying to keep the culture alive and make sure that it's getting passed on generation through generation, that people are finding out the things they need to know, learning about our history in a way that makes sense. And I love that you said that. I think that's wonderful.
We can be unapologetically Black and also educate, right? And I feel like those, you know, two truths. Yeah. There's two things that can be true at the same time. And so I really love that you put that effort. I really relate to this because there's been so many times where people wanted me to be like the token one, the representative kind of feel in a lot of areas. And I have to kind of like be very blunt, like I do this for me. And then whatever happens from that is just, like you said, the bonus. And so I really encourage people to think like that in those spaces, especially when it comes to preserving. We have to preserve ourselves before we can help somebody else, right? So I feel like that's just so crucial and necessary in 2026. It's 2 seconds and a shake of a leg to pull up Google and do what you need to do. So it's not up to us to educate, but it is a bonus when it does show up in those spaces. I want to talk about this kind of refraction of history. Like in a prism, light doesn't just pass through, it changes direction based on the medium. As a Black creator during Black History Month, you are often asked to be a reflector for the industry's progress. How do you balance the desire to celebrate history of Black developers and players with the raw business reality that many of these industry shaping decisions are being made in rooms where we're not even thought of or we're an afterthought?
Gotcha. Okay. So that was actually a hard task, coming up with the topics for each day. And I've had a lot of people like, how did you even do it? And I was like, I really don't know. But the way I wanted to kind of frame it was I wanted to get historical. I wanted to do the Jerry, who, you know, he worked with Atari and he created the first interchangeable console cartridge. I want to talk about him, but I don't want it to seem like Black history only happened then. So then I moved forward to people who are doing things in the 80s, because that was like the 60s, people doing things in the 80s, people are doing things today, people who are alive, people who necessarily don't have this huge platform, but you need to know about their impact and what they did for gaming and the culture. I have a video coming out later today about someone who she made mods for Black hair and Black textures inside The Sims. Do we think that's Black? Yes, that's Black history, you know, because it's like when we think of Black history, we think of Martin Luther King. We think about these people who were, they weren't not so long ago, because I mean, he would still be alive today. But when we think about these people who were around, years and years ago, but we don't think about how Black history is being made every single day, especially in something as niche as gaming that is still very young. So when it came to kind of picking and choosing, I was trying to make sure that I accented people who did the things that were important to the culture of gaming and the history of gaming. And sometimes it was hard because, like you said, some of us aren't in those rooms, but I really wanted to highlight people who took initiative outside those rooms. Like the young lady I'm speaking about today, she took an initiative outside the room. When the Sims wouldn't do it, she decided that she would do it. That's important. Let me highlight that because once again, we don't have to always be in their space to make the impact. We can be in our space and make our own impact and do our own things. Neil Jones is a great example. He was an indie game developer. He made a really great game and got international appeal. And now he's respected in a lot of other rooms. And he's still like, hey, I'm still indie. I'm still do my own thing because that's how I get my culture represented. Because if I pitch this to a bigger company, it might not get approved or it might not get greenlit. But highlighting people who made those actions outside those big rooms, because honestly, in the beginning, when I was talking about like Mark Dean and people who work, like he worked at IBM, those are very white rooms, Yes, he made a huge impact, but today that might not be as possible. You may still have to work outside those rooms, especially with social media and technology. It's a little bit easier to do that for an individual. But yeah, it was a hard balance, but it was accenting the culture and the impact outside those rooms, as well as people who did that inside those rooms as well.
And you bridged it so well. I definitely, just watching just a few of those, I was like, okay, I better understand what was and where it's going. Like, that's the part that I get most excited about is, yes, I learned about something that happened in the past, but now we're progressively moving forward. And so I like that you added both aspects of that in one reel. I love the fact that, again, that you're finding ways to blend the two worlds and put them in one and make it digestible for people to understand and get excited about.
Yes, that's one of the things that I was taught in college. I went to the University of Alabama, Roll Tide. They got a lot of my tuition money, so I have to make sure I tell everybody that. One of the things I learned in college was being able to articulate your point. It doesn't matter if you have a good point if no one can understand what you're saying. And so breaking it down, and some people don't think that's an art, but it is an art breaking down like larger complex topics into something that is digest. That is very hard to do. And that in itself is an art. I think about Drake, people say he's so simple. It's like, yeah, but you understand everything he's saying. So is it really that bad? Because sometimes I listen to Kendrick Lamar. I love Kendrick Lamar. But sometimes I listen to Kendrick Lamar, I'm like, hold on, let me run that back. Because, now I'm sitting here studying the music instead of just listening to it. So there's beauty in both. There's beauty in the complex. There's also beauty in the simple. And so I think for what I was trying to do and reach as many people as possible, reach as many as our people as possible, it was important for me to make sure I took a simplistic route. And if someone wanted to have a complex conversation in the comments, that's fine too, because I can do that. But initially is let's get this simple message out, and then we'll go from there.
Very much agree with that. And especially just kind of coming from the healthcare field, I am very much a person who is used to and understands the need to take very complex information, disseminate that information, making sure I understand it as well, and then putting it in a way that, if I had explained it to my loved one, like I always use my granny and papa as examples. Like they were some of the most wonderful, loving people ever. But obviously, as granny and papas usually are, they're not hip to technology. They don't really know a lot of things about, new medical interventions. So I was like, if I look at patients, whether it's a younger patient, older patient, I try to look at it in the lens of, I'm going to explain this like I would lovingly explain to my granny and papa, making sure that I respect them and that, I'm not dumbing it down for them, but that I'm speaking to them in a way that's with them in like conversational collaboration versus at them. Because I think that's a big difference too. Like, little memes, like in the little tidbits from TikTok. So you got your degree. Thank you. So smart. Like, we don't want to be those people, especially in our own community. Like, it's beautiful and wonderful to be educated and, spend all them thousands of dollars at your alma mater, which we all did. But it's also really nice to be able to just relate to people on a colloquial level, on a, person to person level. So very much that Drake versus Kendrick Lamar, because he's got them Ivy League lyrics. He does those metaphors and, the alliterations. He's got that real nice English literature degree vocabulary, which I love. As an English major, it's one of my favorite things. But again, like you said, there's a time and a place for those things. And when we're trying to reach more people, that's definitely something that we have to take into account. So thank you for bringing that up. It also made me think just about kind of your journey in gaming. when you were a youngster, a child, a kiddo, when you were first introduced to gaming, I kind of want to know your perspective on what sorts of things did you notice and see back then that have manifested today that your younger self would be just doing cartwheels and be over the moon about? Like, what are some changes that you've seen throughout the industry through the years, looking at it from this adult lens now, that would just make your inner child, or still continue to make your inner child jump for joy, or that you would be so excited that 8-year-old, 9-year-old you would welcome and would have loved to have seen this sort of representation?
First off, my nurse friends always get piss me off because they'll use some type of acronym and I have to look them in the face like, I am not a nurse. I have no idea what you're talking about. If you want me to be a part of this conversation, you're gonna have to, because what are these things? It happens all the time. But some of the things that would elate my inner child, I think so a lot of the games I played were Nintendo games where there wasn't like character customization or things like that, but there was like a set character. And so I remember when I played Pokemon Yellow, and so you could only be a boy in Pokemon Yellow. And then in Crystal, you could be a boy or a girl, and I thought that was cool. And then now I'm playing modern Pokemon because, I played up until like middle school, high school, and then I stopped from high school kind of to college just because I was more into girls than games. But so right now I revisited, Pokemon games, and I'm playing my Nintendo Switch, and now I can change skin tone. And I was like, wait, what? And that's like something that may be small to somebody who is not Black because all the characters are white, yippee. But for me, it was like, wow, that was so cool. And then recently they released a game called Pokemon Legends ZA. And in Pokemon Legends ZA, you can change your hairstyle and you can have these outfits. I was unapologetically Black with my outfits. I was wearing cargos with a bucket hat and a crop sweatshirt. I was wearing stuff that made sense for someone like me to be wearing. And I did it for I think it was 2 months, but I posted an outfit a day every single day. And I was fit of the day, fit of the day, fit of the day, because that really mattered to me. So those things elate my inner child because that is a franchise I love. And the games are more about the creatures, the Pokemon themselves. But then they took that little bit and they put it towards the character, and just it made the world to me. But they did not get the hair perfectly right. I think I couldn't rock braids because they were full on dreads. They were very anime, exaggerated dreads. And I was like, I do French braids most of the time. And right now I'm rocking the curls, but I was like, okay. But I gave them credit for all the other stuff they did, allowing me to change. Because at first, I don't know if you guys have played a video game, but a lot of times when they try character customization, it's 3 shades. It's super white, and then tan, and then super dark. And it's there's a spectrum. This is one of the first games Pokemon gave us where there was a spectrum where my character could actually have my skin tone versus either me being way lighter or way darker than I am. So I did appreciate that too. So those things really elate my inner child. Because as a child, I didn't really notice. I was just playing the game. But as I got older and got more conscious, I kind of began to see the lack there. And so now it matters a lot more to me today.
I love being able to see now there's a variety. There's a spot for everybody. There's some things everyone can kind of relate to or see themselves in. I think it's incredibly important, considering how much the Black community has contributed toward gaming, but also not just from a development process, but from actually the consumerism a part of that as well. So I just feel it's necessary. So we talk about the aesthetic versus the asset. So we talk about that just a little bit in this particular industry, but a Prism reveals hidden spectrum in your work on the business of gaming. Where are the invisible wavelengths, the economic or structural shifts where Black creators are actually gaining ground, even if they aren't the ones currently standing in the spotlight?
Okay, cool. One of the places I'm seeing Black creators gain a lot of ground is specifically Black Girl Gamer, that organization, but also just Black Girl Gamers are gaining a lot of ground. I see so many Black girls just blowing up, and I've been streaming on Twitch for years, and I don't do it consistently because I'm not a live streamer. It's just that's not always my bag, but sometimes it is. Sometimes I have seasons I don't do it consistently, but I've seen a lot of girls who start streaming 6 months ago, and they have already got 2,000 followers on Twitch, which is really hard to do. But there's such a strong network and support of Black women supporting each other in the gaming space to where it makes true that a rising tide raises all ships. And so I really appreciate that. I have a friend, she started streaming maybe 2 weeks ago, I'll say 3 weeks ago. She started streaming 2 or 3 weeks ago. She's averaging 100 viewers. That's huge. That's gigantic. There are people who are partnered on Twitch and they are averaging 20. And so I'm trying to like put in perspective how great that is, but it is because there is just a large community of Black women who are supporting each other in those gaming spaces, in those creative spaces. And for Black men, we are too, just at a lesser pace. And so one of the things I want to do is continue to bridge the gap. So I have group messages with Black men where we're talking about content and we're talking about strategies and how to do this, and removing excuses too, because if someone throws an excuse, I'm removing it. I expect them to hold me accountable or remove any excuse that I have. I have a friend who told me to do this. He said, hey man, you need to sign up for this site and start making content based around these games, and they're going to really help you like kind of expand your palette of what games you're covering. Kept pushing it off, did it like last week, and all those videos did like really well. And I was like, that I should have listened to you. But he's not judging me, but he is holding me accountable and reminding me. And so I'm in those spaces, and I also see Black women in their spaces. And so I see Black creators are growing, and we have for so long been such huge consumers of the gaming culture. And now we are in position because of how the internet works and how the individual has more power than they've ever had. We're now in a position where we can actually be the ones who build and shape the culture. Even with something as recent as, I guess it was like right before Christmas, maybe right after. I don't know if you guys have heard of Black Hokage. A Black Hokage does a lot of commentary content. And he had this term that he and a couple other people on his podcast made up called ball and gun gamer. And then ball and gun gamers, people play like Call of Duty and 2K, and that's it. They don't play RPGs, they don't play other things, whatever. But they're very loud and vocal about their preferences, even though they only play 2 types of games. And so a brand, like a major brand, used that quote in like a snippy Twitter remark, and it blew up. But to me, because it was a whole other discourse about it, but to me, I was like, Black culture permeates, right? And so now you have these major brands who've created like classic games using terms that we have created, because now we have more power. The more power is in the individual, because it doesn't matter who you are. If you got a good video and you post it, it gets views. So I do see us gaining ground in a lot of different places. I'll say number one, Black women, Black girl gamers are going crazy. Every clip that I see, I'm seeing more of a divide between Black creators and everybody else, and women creators. I'm seeing a lot more of their clips and their quality of content just kind of elevate. Then I'll say, of course, Black men, and then overall us permeating into the other parts of the culture where we've already been, but now we can track record and say, hey, y'all took that from us. I can tell you the exact day we said it. I can tell you when we said it. I can tell you how we said it. So I'm saying all 3 of those things, and that's really hopeful for me.
That tracks so hard. Like, I love that. I completely agree with you. We nailed it right there. When we become less of the consumer and more of the author, we are taking up space. And that is so primarily what I was trying to say earlier. So you nailed that. How excited are you about seeing how this younger generation is really taking up gaming and just blowing it up even further than what we are?
Yeah, so when there are more eyes on things, it legitimizes it. So years ago, esports was the laughing stock of, the live sports scene. And now you have esports where you have competitions that are being televised to millions of people, or not televised, online stream, whatever, millions of people. You have prize pools that are worth, people competing for. And you have these teams that have permeated culture, that have collabs with things like Pokemon, like 100 Thieves have collabs with Pokemon, and so everyone knows who Pokemon is. And so now you have this name, 100 Thieves, and that's, things like that. And so I do get excited when I see the overall gaming, because gaming, again, since so much of culture, I want to do this series, but it's really hard to do. So I need someone to help me research it. I want to do a series where we take like gaming memes that originated in gaming and see how they like transcend, because you can track a meme and that's super easy and fun, but it's hard because I have to do so much research. I'm not a meme king. I wish I was, but I'm not. But like even the like shocked Pikachu meme that like went viral, was that a couple years ago? The shocked Pikachu meme that everybody was posting, that was like maybe 2019. It's like from Pokemon. That's from like the show. It's like a little clip in the background of the show. But I want to talk about stuff like that because gaming does permeate into all of the rest of pop culture, because a lot of people who are interested in other parts of pop culture are also interested in gaming. But gaming does get this negative stigma of you're sitting in your mom's basement in your underwear and you smell like feet and you're in a dark room looking at your computer all day. It's not necessarily how gaming works now. You can game on your phone. You can game on your Switch out in public. Like, it's so much more of an accessible thing. And so one of the things I do like about gaming and I try to watch with my kids is I have a 6-year-old and he likes like the iPad games, but I want to teach him 3D spaces and I want to teach him those things. So I'm like, hey, I'm going to give you a controller because I want you to play Mario Kart and I want you to understand how 3D worlds work. I want you to understand critical thinking. I want to give you Pokemon, the OG Pokemon, that's more of an RPG with reading and text and things like that. I want you to understand that you have to read every sentence to understand what's going on. You can't just read the first part of the paragraph and last part of the paragraph and make it, because that's what people are doing with information, with research ever since, between 2018 and 2022. It's just like, if you're an expert in anything, you're now not credible. It's like, I study this, but people are lacking that critical thinking. But a lot of my critical thinking I can apply came from playing video games. My brother gave me Pokemon Yellow, or shared his. He didn't give me his. He shared his. So I'm playing Pokemon Yellow. I'm learning to read. I was four. Yeah, I was 4 at the time. I'm learning to read. I'm understanding that, hey, if I press this button and do this attack, it doesn't affect this thing. Wonder why? Well, let me read the text and see what the game says. I'm exploring different worlds, things like that. And so I think there is definitely a correlation. There's research that supports this. There's a correlation between like cognitive ability and like playing video games. And so one of the things that I want to make sure with the younger generation is they're not just playing, not that there's anything wrong with an iPad game, but most of it is just doing and playing, and it's not the critical thinking part. So I want to make sure I'm putting my kids in front of the critical thinking part, which is more RPGs and games are a little bit older. There's some games to do it today, but more so definitely in the older days where we didn't have like voice acting as often or things like that. You had to read to understand the story. But I want to put those things in front of them too, because it's great that the younger generation is getting into gaming, but let's also make sure that we get the benefits of gaming and not just gaming for the sake of gaming.
Yeah, I'm so about the entertainment part. I use gaming as a way to also focus on critical thinking and less about the entertainment of it all. And my youngest is definitely doing that right now. He's absorbing all the critical thinking skills. He's reading those subtext titles. He is 5. He's a kindergartner, and he is super excited. He loves everything gaming. And now he's starting to educate us in areas where he's just like, don't forget that. And you missed that part. And I'm just kind of like, okay, good. At least he's on his toes. So I do like the fact that this is definitely the spot where I feel like I'm most comfortable using those critical thinking skills and passing that on through gaming.
And both of you reminded me of, oh my gosh, do you remember like back in the day, they used to have like, I can't remember what they called them now, but they're like guidebooks. You could like read about the game and like the tips and tricks. Because I was not good at games, that's what I did. So I was like the strategist. I'm like, okay, my brothers, I have brothers that are 6 and 12.
It's funny because some of those weren't accurate.
I know. After I tried it, I know. But I had brothers who were, 6 and 12 years older than me. They had.
There's a guy who did a video of all the Pokemon ones from when he was a kid that he had. He said, "Here are my notes," and he showed his notes of like things he tried in the game. He was like, "That's not true. That's not true." It was so funny because it was like, "Who made this then?"
Right.
But it was funny. But it was trial and error. That was research. He was doing research.
I love that. So see, we need more people like that, because I was just like, okay, I got to figure out how to do this, and I'm trying to get to this next level. But like, my brothers would do the trial and error. I was like, I don't have time for this. Like, I got homework and I got other stuff to do. I'm trying to get through this game as quick as I can, because I got to beat them and show them like, oh, you only were at level 17. I made it all the way to 26. And, so I was very competitive. So that it brought up the memory when we were talking about reading through games and like the dialogue there used to be. I'm like, oh yeah. And I used to have my little cheat book out, and I was going through and reading it. So yes, good memories that brings back. And something you said about memes and kind of pop culture and like Black culture infused in gaming as well, especially the mention of, of like the quote on Twitter kind of going viral as well. Kind of looking at that and kind of thinking about that. So with your brand, you have built a brand on being thoughtful, diving into commentary, and again, not that focus on outrage. Like, you're not just doing stuff for rage bait and for clicks. Like, you're trying to actually get that commentary to get people thinking and to get people talking. How do you push back against the idea that the Black perspective is like a specialty lens? Like, it's another lens, instead of showing the industry that our perspective is really just a way to look at the entire market. So it's it's one part of the bigger puzzle, not just like, oh, this is the specialty Black opinion, and then there's the specialty Asian opinion, and there's the specialty Latino opinion, etc. How are you, or like what kind of work are you doing, or how have you seen that evolve from just being the Black lens, Black perspective, to it being kind of the general culturally accepted perspective in gaming?
So one thing I will do as a gamer, because this is for any gamer, is you have to state your opinion and you have to have credibility in your opinion. So for me, when I state my opinion about X game, I'm stating that opinion with the experience that I've played all these other games, and I've played modern games and old games and whatever. And so when it comes to stating my opinion, when it comes to things that affect Black people or Black culture, it's a thin line, because often what I do is I ask myself, why does this matter? Does this start or stop culture? Like if this thing doesn't go unchanged, does this stop the culture? Is it important enough to even talk about? And I have to often tell like, there's a voice in my head that goes, no, it's not important. Like character creation, I was talking about earlier, it's not that important if they don't have your hair, but it is. But there's a voice in my head saying it isn't. And so a lot of it is, one, backing up what I'm saying with credibility and my experiences as a gamer, because as a gamer, here's my opinion. And then as a Black gamer, here's why that matters to me. So it's establishing that credibility and then going from that point there, but also making sure that I can also see how this is valuable to everyone else. So for instance, we just go back to the character creation thing. That's just the easiest thing to reference. But let's just say, first of all, here's my experience as a gamer. I play other games with in-depth character creation experiences. This game does not have that, because I can't have my shade of brown, and I can't have my hair texture. How does this benefit everyone? A better and more in-depth character, because if they're going to take the time to add Black hair, they're probably going to take the time to add that one wrinkle that you have, or that scar you have, or whatever thing. So it actually pushes everyone else up, because I think Harry Potter, I forgot the name of the game. The one that came out in like 22, 23, I think. It's very recent. They had one of the best character creation systems for Black people. Like I could have like my skin tone and my hair color and my texture. They did a really great job with that. That team did a really great job with that. And it was praised by everybody, not just Black people, but it was praised by everybody about how good and in-depth that character creation was. But in the back of my head, I'm like, well, I knew it was going to be good if I saw a Black guy with a hairline. I knew it was gonna be phenomenal because I saw a Black guy. He had a hairline. He didn't get the locks with the swoop and the shave. So he didn't get that. He got a full, just a regular, look. And so when it comes to sharing my perspective or sharing my perspective from the culture, I know the benefits of, if you're looking at us and you're hearing us, this also benefits everyone else in all these other places. And so that's where I have to take the perspective and speak from, because there are some things that would specifically benefit Black people that wouldn't benefit other people. But then I'm like, that's not true. I have to like that. There are some things, but that's also not true, because if they pay attention to this small, I'm going to use the word small, but not small. They pay attention to this small group, or this group that wants this specific thing, that actually does benefit everybody else who enjoys this hobby. So it's just an internal conversation and a fight I have to have. But of course, starting with credibility as a gamer, and then going into my perspective and making sure that my perspective and my point connects to the wider and broader point of whatever point I'm trying to make.
And I love how you mentioned, and I tie this back to when people talk about DEI, how you mentioned that, this one change that may help this certain group of people is also better for us all, because with this one nuance, you're also creating other nuances that, can help people that look like this, help people that wear glasses, help people that maybe, have leg braces and arm braces and assistive devices. Like, it just keeps going. So just because is intact, or a hairline for an ethnic person is, made correctly, it doesn't mean that someone was like, oh, they are catering to this person. Like, they're doing that. So like you said, each developer, each artist is going to step up their game. Like, well, if they can do that hairline, I can do, like the fade with a number in it, or the fade with the design. Like, they're just going to keep getting better, and we all benefit from that. So I think that is absolutely amazing and wonderful that you pointed that out. But that's a very good point.
I just wanted to add that I was walking around Hogwarts Legacy like I was a Targaryen for like 2 weeks. So I was very proud of myself for being able to pick all the different styles and walk around.
I was going crazy.
Yeah, good game. Good game.
I was definitely having a great time with that one.
One more question. What do you do for self-care? I mean, you could do the lineup if you want to like focus on that, but what do you do for self-care?
For health, self-care? Self-care. Okay. The gym is my number one. That is probably, if I don't go to the gym, I can miss a day. But if I don't go to the gym like for a week, like everyone around me can tell. Like I'm a bit more angry, aggressive, because it's not only just about working out, but I'm like listening to an album. I'm like having like meditative thoughts. I'm taking a lot of me time, and I'm a single dad. So I take care of my two boys by myself. And so I need that time away from everybody. Even at the gym, I see people and I'll say, hey, but it's like a fist bump. Hey, and then I'm AirPods, noise cancellation. No one talk to me. Baby Keem's on. I need to hear this new album. Let me do my pull-ups. So that's number one. That is my number one thing for self-care. It is the gym. I actually missed today because I was so busy, not just because of it, I just had a busy day. I said, man, I can't do legs. But I was like, it's legs. But that's number one. Number two definitely is taking care of my skin. I do have a facial routine and everything. I have what I do in the shower when I get out, all this stuff. I like smelling good. So I like trying new scents and colognes, things like that. Just really taking care of my appearance, making sure that black truly does not crack. And so that's important to me for taking care of myself and my mental health. Also my faith. I do a lot at my church. In the South, so of course I do a lot at my church, but I'm making sure that I'm spending time with my church family, making sure my kids are in that environment, having conversations with people who understand things from not just a cultural lens, because I go to a very black church, or my branch of my church is very black. My main church is white. But having conversations with people who understand things through a cultural lens and understand the culture, but also understand the spiritual. And it's a little bit easier for me to make a bridge because I like Deontay Kyle, but he and another guy were having a conversation about black Christians, and it just devolved. And I was like, he doesn't get it because he's not. So having people who understand those perspectives is important to me. The gym at the very top of the list. Sorry, I love you, Lord. I gotta move some weight. And then taking care of myself, feeling good, looking good, going on coffee dates with myself, things like that. Yeah.
I love the fact that, yes, we need time to like step out. Both Cicely and I were former single moms, and it's just one of those situations where we need that time for ourselves. We need to break away from everybody. And I think that's absolutely necessary. So bravo to you for getting it in. Everybody needs to relate to some sort of self-care routine. I love yours. That's great.
I'm going to say I second that. The gym has become my new home now, where if I can't get a workout in, I feel it in my body. I feel it in my mind. It is very noticeable when I'm not able to work out. So definitely advocate, especially us Black people in the South. We got to do better. We got to do better for our health. And, I just feel like we teach those habits to our kids as well. You mentioned having little ones. I've got little ones and a big little one. Especially for my younger two, it's very important that they see me do these things, where we go on walks and we really just get a chance to, even if you're not a bodybuilder, you're not an Olympic athlete, that's great, but you still need to move your body, go out in nature, get some, touch some grass, as I say, get some fresh air. So love that that's a part of your routine for yourself and the kids. It's modeling for the kids as well.
I love touch some grass.
Love my nature walks.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Sure. Well, as a fellow gamer, this is like one of my favorite things because I love being able to conversate with other amazing people who are delved in the industry. So I have so much admiration for people who are devout, but I also love the fact that the community that you build, because I'm a part of those communities and I'm walking around and frolicking in those communities. So it's just really cool to see other people doing the same, building, encouraging, and cheerleading. So I really appreciate that. Oh, we can move on to how people can find you, connect with you, do all the things with you. I personally follow you on YouTube and Instagram. Okay. But yeah, feel free to share all the socials.
You can find me literally on every platform. I talk the most on Twitter just because I'll be on my phone or I'll be at my desk and I was on Twitter before it was cool. Like when you had to text into Twitter, like I was on Twitter a long time ago. I was on Twitter when I was 12 and then they found out my birthday and then they kicked me off and I had to make a new Twitter when I was age. Like I've been on Twitter forever. Like I remember follow trains, follow back Friday. I remember all that.
Yeah.
So inherently Twitter was my first social media that I actually cared about, like Facebook, but yeah. But I am on Twitter. It's very toxic nowadays. Mine isn't though. I'm always a ray of sunshine, I promise you. But Twitter is where I talk the most, where I interact with people in the community the most, because it's very easy to tweet me and I see it in my mentions and then I respond. That's also where I do giveaways and I do things for the community. Recently there was a game that got announced, a Pokemon remake, and people were like, well, $20 is too expensive. And I was like, I could call y'all broke, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to actually give back to the community. I'm going to give away 2 copies for free because I can afford my $20 copy and 2 more copies because I'm blessed like that. So let me give back. So again, ray of sunshine, but that's where I interact with people the most. Instagram, it's Saiya.Ran. That's where you can find me. And so that's where I post a lot of short form content. And then my Instagram stories, I do stuff on my stories. I may share something funny or I may make a funny joke or something like that. Stuff that like is in video form that I won't like tweet out. TikTok, Saiya.Ran again, just videos. TikTok doesn't like me. So I just post and then dip out. And then YouTube is where I have my longer in-depth thoughts with my long form videos. Also where I have my short form videos. I use that community page a lot. So that's a mesh of everything I like to do. When I have some ideas that I don't necessarily want to tweet about or make a video about, but I want to like have a long conversation about, I'll throw it on YouTube. Every major platform. And then yeah, I'm also on LinkedIn too, but I don't do much there. I'm on LinkedIn too.
I'll be tagging you on LinkedIn when this rolls out. There you go. That's your one.
I appreciate it. I used to write a lot more. I used to write on medium.com. You guys ever heard of Medium?
I'm on Medium.
So I used to write. So last year I was writing like probably an article a week, and then I fell off of that. But I used to put those on my LinkedIn as well. But I want to get back to that because I do actually enjoy writing. And sometimes my videos just are an article, just said out loud with the green screen behind me. So I do want to get back on that.
That's cool. I love Medium. I've been writing on there for several years now, so I think that's really cool. I'll find you and I'll follow. All right, I think we're ready to move on to our flash guest questionnaire. We're going to ask you a random question. You give us the first thing that pops into your head, not the second, the first thing. Are you ready to play?
Tell us about a project that went hilariously wrong. What happened and what did you learn from it?
That will probably be, I had a project I had to do for a brand, and they sent me the product, and I was so excited. I like made the video and I posted it and everything. I was like, this is so cool. And then they emailed me and said in a separate email, like hours later, and I was like, hey, make sure you don't post any content because none of the links are live. So if you told people to buy it, they actually can't buy it yet. And I was like, oh, but we had weeks of correspondence, and they never said that. We had literal weeks of correspondence. And they, because the product took a week and a half to get here. But I was like, all right, well, that's embarrassing. No one can buy this. I can't link it on Amazon. I can't link it on YouTube Shop. I can't even link their website. It's not available anywhere. One thing I learned was even when I get the product, let me ask some clarifying questions. Like, hey, just to be sure, is there an embargo date on this? What specific links do you want me to use? What platforms are you have a like shop built in that I can link directly? Because I believe Instagram has a built-in shop, and we all know TikTok has a shop because I bought a thing or two off TikTok shop. But yeah, I was like, let me ask clarifying questions next time because I'm not taking the video down. It's doing great, so I'm not taking it down.
That's funny though. I think that's a good learning experience. I mean, the good thing is that you were excited about it, so I think that's that's a good thing. It's a plus, but yeah, definitely a good learning experience. What's your secret source of inspiration when you're feeling creatively drained? Where do you go and what do you do to recharge?
So this one's interesting because right now what I'm doing is more so serializing my content so that I am actually a channel and a collection of ideas. And so I remember at the beginning of Black History Month, actually, I didn't plan this series. I didn't plan. Actually, the first one I did was like at 7:00 on February 1st. Like I edited, I scripted, edited, and researched all that stuff and posted it at like 9:00, 10:00. And that's why they always come out in the evening because that's just the habit. But what happened was I was scrolling on Instagram Reels because my Instagram Reels algorithm is disgusting. It is 100% my humor. It's dark humor. It's inappropriate. I'm scared to open my phone in public because it may be like the craziest joke that no one else is going to get besides me. I love it. But I was scrolling and I saw a guy named Woodland, a Black guy in New York. And he was doing this thing where he sat down every day and he said, Happy Black History Month too. And just named a bunch of things of Black culture, then got up and walked away. You know the video. And I was like, that's super simple. I love that concept. Man, Woodland is so cool. And I was like, well, hopefully I can meet him this year and talk to him about that because I think we'll be at a couple events at the same time. Oh, I hope I meet him this year. So then that was on my gaming page. I switched back to my personal page. I'm scrolling through Reels, and then I forgot her name. I really want to credit her, but it's a Black young lady, and she always does the sit downs in these in this pink cushion. I think it's her in a pink cushion in like New York. I don't know why they're both in New York, but she was in her home in her apartment, and she did this video where she was just talking about the mayor. I hope I'm not saying this right now. Mabdani. She was talking about some of the things he had done. And so she was just sitting in front of her camera, talking, holding her microphone with her sources just like overlaid on her face. Super simple. I said, this video is 2 minutes long, but I know she did her research. And I also know that this didn't take as much effort as that 2 minutes might say. So I said, what if I just like combine those things where I sit down? Because every day I start my video, I sit down in front of and ask a similar question of, if you've ever, right? I'm asking a question, I'm getting, and so the way I recharge is by looking at other creators that I actually like watching. There are creators I don't like watching. Like, I think Mr. Beast makes great videos. I don't like watching them. So I don't make Mr. Beast type videos, but I can say he's a great creator. He's just not my style. There are people who I've been able to see in real life and have conversations with that I think are great people, but I don't like their content. So I'm not going to try to emulate them just because they had that success. So the way I recharge whenever I'm like in a content block, I usually just will scroll and watch other people's content and be like, how can I apply this to gaming? Especially people who are not in the gaming niche. That is my favorite thing to do. People who are not in the gaming niche are very creative because they'll have like the most random whatever, and it makes so much sense. And then I just like take that idea and I just connect it to gaming. And so that's what happened with the Black History Month because of Whitland's video, who Whitland talks about gaming a little bit, but not really. I took that idea and I took the style of video of the other girl's idea and I meshed it with gaming. So my recharge is just stealing other people's ideas. Great artist still.
No, you didn't just say that. Oh my gosh. I love
the book is right there. The book is right over there. Great artist still.
I love Whitland. I have followed him for years. And so this year I noticed his big production upgrade that he did. And I was like, wow, like that is exactly.
Which had me think about next year. I have an idea of what I'm going to do next year because he said that. I know exactly what I'm doing next year.
Right. I mean, the way he upgraded the production, the audio, the things that he wanted to focus on, all those type of things. You need a good researcher. So whoever that is, find that person because I think that's going to be great for you to be able to use that research and upgrade that kind of level of production.
I think that's great though. And I think like that's one thing about creativity and being in a creative space, you thrive off of others' creativity. It just makes you a better creator and it just gives you the fuel and the juice and the spark you need to keep moving. So I love that as well. If you were stranded on a desert island and it could only bring 3 tools, digital or physical, what would they be and why?
Okay. When we say stranded, people may think that's a bad thing, but I would love a little island vacation. I actually do every time I go to a convention. I'm going to Boston next month for PAX East. But typically, I always do like a what's in my bag. So really, what would be in my bag on this desert island would be 1, my Nintendo Switch 2. I know I'm only going to get 2 hours out of it because I don't have like a power bank or whatever, but this is going to be a really fun 2 hours. And I don't need the internet to play it, so I can just play whatever. I would bring that. I would 100% bring somewhere I can like lay down because I like lounging. I don't like always taking a nap or like sleeping because sometimes I kind of like battle with sleeping. I've got more stuff to do, but I do like sitting down in a comfortable chair or in a comfortable seat. I do love that. That is my thing, and just breathing. So I would bring a very, very comfortable seat. I would bring not an office chair, but like a lounge or something. Because again, this desert island is pretty much a vacation for me. And then my last thing I would probably bring, it's like a digital photo album of my friends and family, just so I can see them and like, oh, I love y'all, but then go back to my desert island vacation. So that's the things I would bring.
That's hilarious. And I always joke that you always know that you're a parent or someone who's always on the go when you're like, oh no, like I'm lost. Like this is so terrible. I feel like that is a common thread in parents or people who are creative or people who just don't have enough time to get things done. It would be the only time you have like to slow down, right? Like the only time you have to get some things done. And I totally agree with that. Like, I'd love to bring something to just write with. I would bring a journal and I would fill those pages like I've never filled them before. So I love that you bring that up, but I can very much relate. If you could travel back in time and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Honestly, I try not to think that I have many regrets in life or things I need to warn myself about. But I'll probably go back to like college age me. And I would say, I would probably just like guide myself a little bit more because there are some lessons I learned like after college that I could have learned during college, and it would have like shortcutted and catapulted me. I probably would have told myself to like, because I was making videos in college, but it was like travel videos and stuff like me and my best friend went to Toronto for senior year and I made a video of that. I think I would have told myself that, hey, you have a talent for that and you should lean into that more instead of letting people around me say that like content creators or YouTubers are like, kind of like bummy. And then now I'm seeing like a lot of my friends post-COVID because everyone just had this time to blow up during COVID. I probably would have said you should lean into that more. I probably would have told myself, hey, go invest in a camera and like go take a class in learning how to tell a story. Like study people who are really great at communicating. I would have probably told myself to do what I'm doing now sooner. But I love where I am. I wouldn't trade where I am. When I first started creating content, I was thinking about this earlier today. When I first started creating content, a magazine reached out and was like, hey, we love your content. Can you make a couple of videos for us a month and we'll pay you? And that was like my first like paid thing. But it was just crazy that I, one, checked my email because, as a smaller creator, most times people aren't checking the emails. But I checked my email and someone believed in me enough to say, hey, we want to pay you to make content. And I made pieces like I talked about like fighting game culture and pop culture, from things like streetwear with Street Fighter had a collab with some shoes, to like the movies and just like people making random references and sitcoms and things and movies and stuff like that with the Hadouken and stuff like that. And so just the piece of advice I would give myself is to start sooner, because then I could do some of those really cool things a little bit sooner, and that would have been a lot of fun.
I think that is very fair. Like, it's not about having regrets. It's like, I just wish I could have been doing more of what I love just a little bit longer. I love that. I think that's a great piece of advice. And then last but not least, what's the most unusual or unexpected place you'd love to create work? So think beyond a canvas or a screen or a green room. What's a place that you would love to create work?
So a lot of my studios, I'll say, are of course this room here. When I go to conventions, being amongst the people. But I really like what I've done with some pieces. Like I did a piece where I have a tattoos here, and my artist is an anime tattoo artist. So I made a video of getting like this anime half sleeve. And this Friday is Pokemon Day, and I'm gonna get a Pokemon tattoo from a different artist. I'm going to document and vlog that. And so those unconventional, hey, I really love this thing, and here's a piece of my life, how it relates. I really like those things. And that's kind of my unconventional canvas, because a lot of times you see gamers, especially with our content, it's like in this room in this 9x16 box, and there's like gameplay underneath it or whatever, or restraint like that's fun and that's easy to put out. But some of my favorite pieces have been like me going to Target to play a demo of a game because I thought that was super cool. I know a board kind of Target. I didn't buy anything. I just went and I played the game, and I didn't even have the game, and I left. I promise. But those experiences where I like get out of my house, or I get out of this room and I go somewhere and I'm in the real world. And I was at the grocery store the other day. I didn't record this, but I was at the grocery store the other day, and I ran into a guy. He had a Naruto headband. We started having a conversation. He owns a production company in my city, and he's making video content for some of these bigger businesses in the city. And I'm like, crazy connection. Let me get your number. So getting out and about and touching grass and being outside of the internet, those are my favorite places to create content. And so even with getting this tattoo, I'm sitting here like, where am I going to put it? Cause I gotta film myself getting it. So think about putting it on my arms. So things like that. I think those are some of the best, most authentic pieces of content. And my goal is to be authentic, because I want to be authentic first to myself, and then to the culture, and then people outside that who see. Because when I'm authentic, I become more than just a black guy on a screen. I become Saiya.Ran. I become a person, not to get too parasocial, but yeah.
I love that. And the connections, like you said, you got to get off the internet sometimes. You got to actually still go meet people and see them in person and cultivate those. I can't even think of the word now. The words in the top of my brain, but like cultivate those in-person live experiences. You still need to do that. So that's great.
Agreed. Is there anything else you want to say to our listeners before we wrap up the episode?
Check your emails. That's a big piece of advice I have for creators, is check your emails. I see a lot of times people do not check the emails. They don't shoot those shots either. One of my favorite companies to work with is the Pokemon company. That's been a relationship I've had since 23. And I literally was on Twitter, and I saw that the Pokemon company was like, hey, we're looking for some creators to come to Hawaii. We'll give you access to the event. We're not paying for anything besides the access to the event. We want some creators to come out. You can apply here. And they posted the tweet, and it was up for, I don't know how long it was up, but I saw it was deleted later on. I could not share with anybody else, but I applied. I shot my shot. And then I checked my email at work a couple weeks, a month later, and I got invited. And I was like, oh my God. And that's just been this ongoing, growing relationship. The same thing I mentioned with my first relationship with first time getting paid to make content was with a magazine. It's because I checked my email and someone reached out. And so shooting those shots and checking your email, because a lot of people will just email you for random opportunities. I've gotten so many random opportunities. A company randomly emailed me and was like, hey, we saw you made this content on this mic. Can you do that again, but for us? Here's $1,000. Okay, sure. Why not? Check your email and shoot those shots. And then if you're not sure if it's a real shot and it's a little scammy, be, wary, but checking your email and shooting those shots, I think that'll get you pretty far. And this is something I want to share to everybody. That's the last thing I want to share. It's definitely check your emails and shoot those shots.
Oh my gosh, that is such good advice. Seriously. And it's practical, which is what I love the most. All right, this has definitely been one of my favorite episodes of the season for sure. This has been so fun. Thank you so much for all your expertise, your wisdom today.
Thank you for your insights. And like I said, it was a great conversation. I'm happy to learn about people's experiences and how life happens to, us in different ways. And I definitely agree with shooting your shot. That is like one of my number one things that I tell people all the time. If nothing else, even if you forget to check that damn email and you got to look in the spam folder too, that to always shoot your shot, because the answer is no if you never ask. And I fully believe that with jobs, relationships, with anything, that if you never ask, you'll never know. Shoot your shot.
Awesome. All right. This has been a great episode. For upcoming live episode notifications and exclusive bonus content, head to mtgthepodcast.com and join the conversation through our newsletter. So until next time, remember, you are more than your output, you are more than your title, and you are indefinitely more than graphics. We will catch you guys next time.
This tribe with a vibe needs you. Share MTG on social media, on your lunch break with peers, or send an episode to your techie besties. This podcast is produced by Octane Design Studios. Catch you next time.